Netivyah International, www.netivyahinternational.org.
Shalom, my name is Joseph Shulam. Together with Brad TV, we are partnering in doing the weekly portions of the Torah that are read in every synagogue. And this week we are talking about a portion that is called Chukat, which means my laws, God's laws. And it's from Numbers chapter 19, verse 1 till Numbers chapter 22, verse 1. The portion from the prophets that is read in the synagogues is Joshua from chapter 11, 1 to verse 33. And from the New Testament, we're reading John chapter 3 from verse 1 to verse 21. Okay, this portion in the synagogue is called the portion of the red heifer, the red cow. It's one of the most mysterious commands in the whole 5 books of Moses. It's a strange command, it's a mysterious command, but it's an important command nonetheless. It deals with a red heifer, a red calf, that has to be completely red, cannot have a white spot, not in the leg, not in the forehead, not in the body, or a dark spot or a black spot, a completely red cow. It has to be a perfect specimen, without a blemish. It has to be a calf, a cow, that has never been yoked, put a yoke on it and put it to work as a plow or in other jobs in the farm, or to pull a cart. It has to be sacrificed, but not in the normal sacrificial way of sacrificing animals to the Lord, which is either in the tent of meeting during the wilderness or in the temple in Jerusalem, on the altar in the temple by the priest. No, this calf, this red cow, has to be sacrificed outside the camp, in a place that is not in Jerusalem, outside Jerusalem. And it has to be burned completely. The whole cow has to be burned, turned into ashes. But before it is burned, you have to add to it cedar wood. And you have to add to it hyssop, which is essentially, hyssop is oregano. Wild oregano is hyssop. And you have to add scarlet yarn, wool yarn that is scarlet, red. And this red heifer is burned completely, and its ashes are what's important. It's not eaten. It's the only sacrifice that nobody eats from it, not the priest, not the people who sacrifice it, and it's not donated by somebody from the outside. It's something that the temple itself, the priesthood itself, has to provide. Very different sacrifice. And it was used for several purposes in the law of Moses. One of the main purposes is purification. If a person is defiled, that he touched a dead body, or he had some kind of issue of voluntary secretion of some bodily liquids, or he was a leper and he had to be announced pure from leprosy, then this ashes of this red heifer played a major role. Without these ashes, a person could not be purified, could not be declared pure. So it had a very important function, the red heifer. When the temple was destroyed in 70 AD, obviously there was no more temple, no more priesthood that's functioning, no more sacrifices in the temple, and no more red heifer. The ashes of red heifer didn't exist anymore. That means that Israel, until this very day, you could consider it impure, ceremonially impure, but we don't have a temple, so it's not practically important because none of us are functioning. We just finished the Passover a day ago, finished the Passover, and now we are after the Passover, but if we were touched a dead person or a dead animal or had leprosy or had some kind of other thing that makes us impure, there's no way for us to be purified. From the point of view of the law of Moses, there is no way for us to be purified. We don't have the ashes of a red heifer. We don't have a kosher priesthood. We don't have a kosher temple. We don't have any of the institutions and instruments for us to be purified after 70 AD. Now, there is a very interesting 1st century AD after Christ, after the destruction of the temple at 70 AD, a document that I think is very, very important for us to understand in relationship to this red heifer. I'm reading to you now from a rabbinical source, a major rabbinical source. It's called Midrash Rabbah, the main midrashic body of literature. And here is the story of what happened soon after the destruction of the temple at 70 AD. The rabbi that is being discussed here is a great-grandson of Gamaliel that we mentioned in the New Testament. His name was Rabbi Yochanan, John, the son of Zacchaeus in English, or in Hebrew, Yochanan ben Zakkai. He's a rabbi that escaped the siege of Jerusalem and saved his disciples by playing dead, and only the dead were allowed to get out of Jerusalem for burial during the Roman siege of Jerusalem at 70 AD. So his disciples all gathered and took him out as dead, went to Titus, the Roman general that later became a Caesar in Rome, and he let them go. They said to him, "We give you Jerusalem, and we want Yavne, that is not far from between Ashkelon and Ashdod by the sea coast of the Mediterranean Sea, some distance from Jerusalem, about an hour and a half distance driving from Jerusalem." So Titus agreed and gave them Jamnia, and Jamnia became a major center for rabbinical studies and for the composition of rabbinical literature. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, a Gentile, came to him and asked, "These rituals you do, they seem like witchcraft. You bring an heifer," that means a calf or a cow, "burn it, crush it up, and take its ashes. If one of you is impure by the dead, a very strong impurity, 2 or 3 drops sprinkled on him, and you declare him pure." He said to him, "Has a restless spirit ever entered you?" He said to him, "No." "Have you ever seen a man where a restless spirit entered him?" He said to him, "Yes." Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said to him, "And what did you do for him, for a person that has been defiled by a restless spirit, by a demon?" It said, when we brought roots and made them smoke beneath him and pour water, and that spirit flees. The spirit flees, the Gentile said, if we mix, water and sprinkle on this guy that the restless spirit has entered him, then the spirit runs away. The Gentile asked this question. It was right. The same substance that can purify somebody that is impure, if a pure person touches the same substance, he becomes impure. So the same substance can make you pure, and the same substance, if you're pure, can cure you. And if you're pure and you touch it, you become impure. So it's the Gentile with the question is right. It looks like witchcraft. If an Israelite didn't have the ashes of the sacrifice of the red heifer, he could not get purified. If he's leprous, he cannot get purified, even if he's healed, like Yeshua healed the 10 lepers on the way going through Samaria, and he met them and they begged him to heal them, and he healed all 10 of them. And what did he do? He didn't say, go home. He said, go show yourself to the priest to get declared purified. How? By the ashes of the red heifer. There is another very useful use of the ashes of this red heifer, and that is if a husband suspects that his wife was unfaithful, and of course that puts a strain on their relationship. They go to the priest, and the priest mixes the ashes of the red heifer with water, pure water, and lets the woman drink it. If she gets a strong stomachache from this, it means that that the husband is right and she's been unfaithful. If she gets nothing out of it, it means that the husband is wrong and she has been faithful and there's no reason for him to suspect her. This is in Numbers chapter 5. And the usefulness of these ashes was extremely important. This Gentile was also right. He asked the right question from Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, and Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai gave him this answer that don't worry about it. Neither the touching a dead person makes you impure, nor does the ashes of the red heifer makes you pure. Very strange question. Very strange answer. Why is it strange? Because what did Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai do? He essentially said that the whole thing of the ashes of the red heifer is psychological, not real. It's a way to ensure that the person who is purified experienced something that gave him like a diploma that he is now pure, gave him a priestly edict that he is pure. But in reality, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai told that Gentile, no, these things in the Torah are not real. They are psychological, they are spiritual, but they don't have a real value as far as a person being pure or impure. His disciples come to him and say, Rabbi, you gave a sorry excuse to this Gentile. In other words, you diminished the power the literal understanding of the text of the Torah. How could you do that? How, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, how could you do that? How could you say that if you touch a dead person, you don't really become impure, and you have the water of the red heifer with the ashes of the red heifer, and that doesn't really purify you? Give us the real story behind it. This is what the rabbi said. By your lives, in other words, swore, a dead person doesn't make things impure, and the water doesn't make him pure. Rather, God said, I have engraved a rule, I have decreed a decree, and you have no permission to transgress what I decreed. As it says, this is the law of the Torah. That's an interesting text, which reveals to us some of the dynamics of religions. In the end, you have the rules and you have reality. You have the laws and you have reality. You have the doctrines and you have reality. And what Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai told his disciples, listen, we're obligated to what God commanded. We're not obligated to understand everything and to agree with everything, but these are the rules that God gave us. And if we can't practice them, it's not our problem. If God took away the temple from us, destroyed it by the Romans, the rules are there, but we have to do the best we can with what we have. An interesting thing. Now, this text of the red heifer is revealed to us as a very important, very, very important relationship to Yeshua himself. I'm reading now from Hebrews, the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 13, from verse 10 to 13. We have an altar from which those who serve the tabernacle have no right to eat. As you should know from reading the Torah till now, priests offered the sacrifices that people brought, and they all had a part of the animal as their portion, as their tithe, and they could eat it. People came to sacrifice. They got a portion of their sacrifice for most of the sacrifices that they offered. And they participated in the sacrifice by eating that portion that belongs to them. The priest also got a portion. But there's only one sacrifice in the whole laws of sacrifice that nobody got to eat from it. Not the priest and not the people who offered it. Nobody. And that is the sacrifice of the red heifer. I'm reading from Hebrews chapter 13, verse 10 to 13. We have an altar from which those who serve the tabernacle have no right to eat. For the bodies of those animals whose blood is brought into the sanctuary by the high priest for sin and burned outside the camp, therefore Jesus also, that we might sanctify the people with his own blood. He suffered outside the camp, outside the gate. Therefore let us go forth outside the camp, bearing his reproach. What is the writer of the book of Hebrews said? That the model, the pattern, the paradigm of the way that Jesus, Yeshua, his sacrifice atones for us is like that of the red heifer. It's like that of a sacrifice that was outside the gate of the city, outside the camp, outside the temple. The place of crucifixion in Jerusalem was outside the city, not inside the city. And the writer of the book of Hebrews connects Yeshua as the ultimate red heifer, the ultimate purification of our souls and our lives, the ultimate sacrifice that is totally consumed with hyssop, with cedar wood, and all of it happened outside the camp. Yes, dear brothers and sisters, the Torah is relevant for us to understand also things in the New Testament, like Hebrews chapter 13, verse 10 to 13, that connects us with the red heifer, connects us with the sacrifice that was offered outside the camp, connects us by inviting us as disciples not to be tied to the establishment of the city, to the establishment of the church, but to be willing to step out socially, intellectually, spiritually, to be where Jesus is, outside the camp, outside the consensus of human experiences. Yes. May God bless us all and give us the courage and the willingness to be different than the world that we live in, different than the world that calls itself Jewish or Christian, and follow in the footsteps of Jesus, being willing to be different from our culture, from our society, and sometimes also from our religious establishments that created institutions that don't exist in the Bible. And may God bless us all and guide us from the Word and from the Spirit. Holy Spirit, God bless you. Amen.
Netivyah International, www.netivyahinternational.org.